first sign of the affliction was a radical tremor in my right hand. A very radical tremor in my right hand. I couldn't hold on the steering wheel, but when this tremor would get activated, it would activate the tremor in my vocal cords, which would cause me to have the spasms, which would close my vocal cords, which wouldn't allow me to breathe. Once that would happen, it would activate both tremors on the side of my head, causing me severe pain.
On that Friday when we went over, he was sitting in his chair, and Debbie was there, all the kids were there, and she would take rags and wipe him down, but he is, if I'm not mistaken, his esophagus or something, it tightens up and just cuts all of his breathing off. And he's at the point to where his face is completely blood red. You think he's going to pass out, and he's just like that, and he just can't breathe at all. And then he comes out of it, and you can just see the sigh in him. So you can get him another 5 minutes before he starts into him again. I mean, it was the worst I'd ever seen.
The spasms would last 20 minutes, sometimes 15, sometimes 12 minutes in length, and I'd be getting just enough air to live, but not enough oxygen to keep things going.
What happened was his throat would just like go into spasm, and he would have to really concentrate so that he could breathe well enough to not pass out, and it was just a very slow, controlled breathing type thing.
First realized that I was in serious trouble with my legs. I was at the mall, my feet wouldn't work. I couldn't get my feet going. And I would fall immediately backwards without warning, and immediately to my right.
My husband was one of them that had, helped him, and he was with him when he, first started falling and stuff, and he would just like lean into him when he would start to fall and stuff.
Those are the issues that has been affecting me down through the past 2 years. It was true, I had several symptoms of progressive supranuclear palsy. I had several symptoms of nuclear Parkinson's, and I had some symptoms of Parkinson's, but there were some things missing. Back up to Cleveland to talk to the third neurologist. He says, "I'm very quick to tell you, I know you have something seriously wrong, but I haven't got a clue what that is." At that point, he said, "Here's some things you have to do. Number one, you have to get him in a wheelchair."
When he got in a wheelchair, it was just really, really hard.
I was certain that I had a disease, and I was certain the disease was serious, and I was certain that the experts of the health field could not put it together. When I began to realize this was a serious illness, and how am I going to glorify God in the midst of the illness, what I decided that I must do is, number one, recognize I had the illness. And so I said to my congregation, I have an illness. I don't know how serious it is, but I think it's not a walk through the park.
The pastor has never, not once, the many times we've been together, have you ever heard him complain about being in a wheelchair, or why me, or anything. Never. Always a smile. How are you, Pastor? I'm blessed.
When I think about the healing wasn't the prominent thing in my mind. The prominent thing in my mind was to equip these saints for the work of ministry. So my illness was never the consuming factor that it would have been, or that it could have been. So I focused on the church, focused on ministry, focused on transition, focused on a segment of people that I knew was lost without Christ. And my emphasis is always upon Christ, who's not only can heal the body, but can do the greatest of healing, and that's turn a blackened heart who was foreign, alienated from God, and transform that heart into a living, vital relationship with the living Christ, so that someday we'll be absent from the body and present with the Lord.